There was a storm coming. A garden of spit, sweat, and adrenaline to play. Third down, second quarter. A swampy field of 96-degree mud on the line of tackle. 2-point stance, momentum raging. My legs ready for the chase. Looked into the eyes of the victims. Down, set. Gravity's an obsessed force that was trying to mess with me. Set. Reflexes more than ready. Hut, and I leap. Cut through a thick wet bamboo like my arms and machetes. Lock onto my target in 4 seconds, yo. I black out to the sound. God, Jesus, my leg. I stand over the quarterback feeling invincible. I felt like saying there's no God for you tonight. I killed your Jesus a long time ago. There's no alternative to my judgment that passes on to you. Tonight, you dine in my hell instead. Squat down, take a look at my work. Jump my hands up, walk away, I smile, and remind the common courtesy of taking a knee for another human being. As the EMT hurries, I walk off the field. Coach grabs my helmet, hype off what I just did. My teammates follow his example. As we wait on the confirmation, his leg, so broken that it almost punctures a major artery, I notice blood on my jersey in the form of a check. I walked back out from the field worried that I was now to be a target, but realized I am something to be feared. This is for mornings for waking with death sores. This is for fatigue, for moments without pension or food. This is for weightlifting before running, for pushing off dead weight like groupies, ridding my chances of stardom, because out here on this battlefield is all that matters. Beating on somebody else's son because it's the only time it's legal. Seriously. They permit me to abuse the law for social entertainment. I am stock market investments at its finest. Modified black on black crime, shackled to run up and down 100-yard fields and entertain Negroes breaking Negroes. As a matter of fact, William Lynch still broke me down to a certain degree. Oh, I'm sorry. I meant my scouts, my recruiters, and my sponsors. But that's okay though. Give me the field rules for the job description. Yes, master. I mean, coach. On how fast? Do what? Put it out the game, sir. Make you profit how, sir? Violently domesticated animals quarantined on new jungles. I wonder why in basketball for punishment we have to run suicide. Or in track, we all joked off the same gunshot. Still, till this day, I'm trying to understand why the first time I crippled a quarterback, somebody's son. I smiled.
It is National and International Poetry Month. That is what April is, which is a time to celebrate poets and their craft. So, what is the things that we do in National Poetry Month? Obviously, we're talking about poetry. Also, there's always a writing objective, which we call the 30 for 30 in National Poetry Month, where you try to write a new poem a day. Some people go so far as to find a new poem a day that they love to share to other people, just because they might not have the time to write. But those are the things that we do. But that is the things that happen inside of National Poetry Month. Words are very powerful. They say the pen is sharper than the sword. There are words dancing in your mind waiting to taste the paper, right? Poetry resided in your heart always, but you didn't know how to go about it. So let's figure that out. I personally believe being a poet requires more than writing. And yes, I stand by that. You have to adopt some of these rules into your routine that I'm about to go over, so you can ensure that your poetry grows and continuously develops. And with that being said, as I always like to say, I feel like poets are one of the rare few creatures in the world that can paint a picture with one color ink. So, the first rule in poetry, number one non-negotiable rule, always, you have to read poetry. I know it sounds crazy, sounds a little obvious, right, Rashid? But no, literally, reading poetry, while this sounds obvious, you'd be surprised to learn that few poets read a lot of poetry. If you want to become a famous poet, you need to read the poets who have come before you. The second rule is to attend a workshop and watch local poetry slams or open mics and whatever is that, whether that be virtual or in person. Creative spaces help to cultivate and hone your poetic style. We highly recommend you get involved in your local creative scenes. This means attending poetry readings, open mics like I just mentioned, joining a local writers or readers group, and even sharing and editing your work in a workshop, as well as slamming. And how to start a poem. Many want to write poetry, but then they don't know where to start. So luckily, it's pretty easy to start a poem. So for starters, do you write in other genres? If so, what themes and topics do you usually like to explore? Ask yourself those questions. For example, if you tend to write fantasy, use fantastical elements. Fantasy-like elements like hidden forests, magic spells, and evil doers to inspire your poetry. If you like things from like Lord of the Rings and Mithril and stuff like that, just use whatever context works for you. And start writing poetry using what you already know. Using this technique makes it so much easier to start a poem. Additionally to that, examine and be present in your surroundings. Describe what you see, what you feel, what you smell. Use your senses to brainstorm possible poetry topics. Sensory detail is really key, guys. I cannot emphasize that enough. You see a lot of my writing as well, where I want you to be able to see what I see, smell what I smell, feel what I felt. As well as that way you can really journey with me in my writing. So with that being said, a couple of poetry writing exercises. If you're still scratching your head when it comes to writing poetry, try one of these poetry writing exercises. So writing exercises help is a great way to get your creative juices flowing. So number one, I would say, look at an old photo. Write about everything that's not in that picture. Feel free to move to and from that reality in that space as a warm-up exercise. Another good one would be to describe a place that you've never been to and be as realistic as possible. The catch is that it has to be in a single word list, though. That's always a fun challenge. Just like I call it a list poem. So just listing and jotting down everything from that and for a place that you've never been to. A third idea, just to throw out there, what was your last dream that you remember? Using colors and smells to describe it. It's always a fun one for me. Let's see, a fourth one. Finish the sentence and continue the story. So, when my mind hits the pillow, ... So, I'll read that one again. So, writing topic number 4. Finish out this sentence to continue the story. When my head hits the pillow, and then just go from there, whatever comes to mind. Or, in 13 words or less, describe your oasis. These writing poetry exercises can be recycled, get creative with it, maybe explore, get very, very much so experimental. Write what comes to mind. These prompts are meant just to help give some pointers to your writing journey and what you want to do and what you want to accomplish. There are no right or wrong ways to approach them, and remember, revision always comes later on. So just take what you write down from the start, go with it from there, and have fun with it in your first drafts that you're writing. And after you start playing around with that, if you wonder what makes a good poem, I think this is an ancient age-old question, even in the time of the great philosophers, and one that writers know will be in the future and will always keep asking. But honestly, what does make that good poem? What makes it stand out? What makes it work? What makes it pop? Why is it done? So if someone reads your poem and they feel something, anything, then you've written a good poem, right? Because a lot of times when you're writing, it's not just for you. It usually starts that way, but you're usually writing it for just more than yourself. And it's usually for the benefit of others so they can see your perspective. And yes, some of the common types of poetry follow a set of rules, but you are the writer. Always remember that. So when you are the writer, you get to write whatever kind of poetry that you want. You're in control of that. No matter which forms you find yourself writing, all poetry elicits a response in the readers. As a beginner, if you can stick to that rule of thumb, chances are you're moving in the right poetic direction. So, with that being said, in the month of April, I hope you're ready to write. We've got several days left in this month of International Poetry Month, so go grab that pen, that pencil, that keyboard if you're a type electronic poet, and put those doubts aside. You can do it. I believe in you, and let's journey together and have fun doing what we do best, which is living in the right now by writing now.